Hello, everyone, and a very warm welcome to my podcast, Don't Get a Therapist Yet, where we unpack what it really takes to thrive mentally and emotionally in high pressure environments. Today's episode is for anyone who's talented, driven, but maybe secretly struggling, especially if you have ADHD or think you might. And you feel like you're always one step away from failure, burnout, or being exposed as a fraud, whether you're aiming for elite sport, launching a personal brand, developing your business, or trying to smash academic goals. This one is for you. So I have my expert in ADHD. Her name is Jo-Anne Kelleher. She's a sports psychologist who works with high achieving individuals with ADHD to overcome self doubt, emotional setbacks, and unlock their full potential. So, a very warm welcome to you. Hi, Jo. Could you please just tell the audience a little bit more about yourself?
I'm a sports and high performance psychologist. So when I was 18, I always wanted to be a sports psychologist, but school wasn't really good for me. I didn't understand the reason why. I just couldn't work and it just didn't let me learn. So I went to be a lifeguard instead. And then my that dream didn't disappear. And I went and did my degree with Open University, my master's, and finally became a sports and high performance psychologist. Um, Coming up to like over 10 years ago now. So
Wow.
for me, I was told the English teacher told me that I'd never do anything because my English was so bad. So I did really well. What I know now is that all those struggles would have been ADHD. It wasn't anyone wasn't aware of it then. But when I changed my mindset about how I learn and learned in my way, I was able to finally get to my dream and actually build a business on my terms. And that's why I want to help other high performers, whether that's in sport, business, your career, or in academia, to realize that actually ADHD shouldn't be holding you back. You can use it as your strength and gear what you do in your success in order to play with your strengths.
It sounds amazing, and thank you for sharing your amazing journey and how you overcome ADHD and not even knowing what it was. Because in those days there was much less sort of diagnosis or awareness as well. You did it all yourself. You overcame that to achieve such a high level of professionalism. So congratulations to you, Jo-Anne, for doing so well. That must have taken an awful lot of mindset to overcome that. So yeah, well done. That's great. So, and I think your story is going to resonate so much with people who have either got ADHD or thinking that they've got ADHD, especially like you say, if they're high achievers. That's the sort of people that are striving to be high achievers as well. Okay. So, um, why do you think people with ADHD, even high performers, still struggle with self-doubt?
I think I think we all suffer from self doubt, but especially with people with ADHD, what we know now is that the brain is different in what we call the executive functions. This is part of the brain here, which seem to think I see it as like the CEO of our brain. It controls all the mental skills that we have, our working memory, our self awareness, our problem solving, our planning. And because people with ADHD have differences within that part of the brain, what they see is because of how society expects them to behave, they believe that they're flawed. They believe that they're not good enough and that self doubt kicks in. I don't necessarily think it's to do with how their brain is, but more about how people respond to how they think people with ADHD should be responding. And because they may plan in a different way, they may not have the same working memory. Their time, what we call time horizon, is very different to other people. They believe that they're not good enough. And it's not that they're not good enough, it's just that society and education, in everything, the industries don't adapt to allow different brains to be empowered and explore what there is out there. And so therefore the self-doubt kicks in because they believe that it's them and not the society. And I think also we know that people with ADHD have rejection sensitivity. So when they get given feedback, then that makes them feel like it's about them rather than about the situation, which then they can overthink that to believe that they're doubting their abilities.
Yeah. And that's such a good explanation. And I think what you're saying is whether you've got ADHD or whether you think you have, it must be so hard because you're met with misunderstanding all the time. You're met with, well, why can't you do it this way? And that kind of reinforces, as you said, that I didn't even know about that rejection issue. It kind of reinforces that self-doubt. So the self-doubt can grow and can really affect your performance, can't it? If you've got that self-doubt just sort of resonating with you, it must be really hard then to push yourself forward to overcome that self-doubt.
But I think the good thing about that is they also have sheer determination and that eye focus that they can work harder in order to be the best, which means that the reason that they can excel in these areas in sport and in business and their careers and in academia is because that brain can switch all the time. Their ideas come in and they got great problem solving. And a little story today is my daughter got a knot in her shoelace at school, and I've got nails, I couldn't get it up. So my brain's going, car keys, the clip for the thing, and my brain's thinking, and I could do it, and I knew I had like 2 minutes to get this sorted. And that's what ADHD people can do because their brain's all over the place. But if you use it to our advantage, we get things done a lot quicker than that neurotypical person. And it's about recognizing that sometimes that self-doubt drives you towards excellence, which is why so many people with ADHD excel in those areas.
And that's just such a good reframe, Jo, isn't it? To sort of say, okay, don't see it as a weakness, even see the self-doubt as a way of driving yourself forward as well, and actually celebrate all those positive traits that ADHD people like, that amazing quickness of mind and be able to problem solve really good. That's such a great message to put to people, with ADHD, rather than being seen as sort of like defective in some way, which I think a lot of people, judge people and they don't understand, do they? They don't understand. They haven't gone into lengths to actually understand what it is. So that's absolutely brilliant. Yeah.
And I think with the word deficit being in the ADHD, it should actually be changed to difference, because it's not a deficit. We haven't got an attention deficit. We just have an awareness and a guidance. We don't know how to direct that attention. We can have attention. It's not about a deficit in it. It's just that we need to know how to channel that in the right direction. And therefore it is about differences in the brain rather than a deficit, because we haven't got a deficit, we've just got a difference.
Just that's such an important language. I mean, as a therapist, I'm quite into what language you use, and actually just labeling it as a deficit. That's amazing, isn't it? I didn't even think of that. And what's that give that message to people with ADHD, rather than it being like their superpower, which I think is where you're coming from. Like you say, you're actually sort of saying it as a difference, and difference is good. Difference is celebrating your individual abilities and everything like that. Yeah, that's a really good point. Yeah. Want a campaign to change it to difference. Absolutely.
Well, I think Jamie Oliver's on his way to try and do that already.
Yeah, good for him. Good for him. Okay, great. Okay, and we talked about self-doubt. Are there any other particular mind blocks you think that people with ADHD have? What's the sort of common one that they might have?
I would say the biggest one is imposter syndrome, even though we know imposter syndrome isn't really a thing, is it? It's a term that we've created that is actually self-doubt. It's when we don't have clarity of what is expected and what we can do, people have this imposter syndrome because they're being told they're lazy, they're disorganized, and that they're emotional, they're oversensitive, they're 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 inconsistent. But we and then but they're doing so well, and so therefore you get this imposter syndrome saying, am I going to get found out soon? And I remember when I used to work in an organization, I never used to tell them how much work I could do in one day. I used to go, actually, I could do 10 hours work in like 5 hours and get it all done. But I didn't want to tell them that because I knew that I couldn't sort of sustain it. So I'd sort of like keep it to one side to say, actually, my ADHD brain wants to submit it, hand it in, give it to them, say I've done all this. But actually I had to pull back and go, no, because their expectations will be that they want me up here all the time. Whereas actually for people with ADHD, a 40-hour week or a 35-hour week isn't the same, because they don't work Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. They could get all the work done in Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, so that they can then just relax on the Thursday and Friday, knowing that, oh, I've got it all in, or the other way around, because a lot of people are last minute and they'll go, I've done nothing on Monday and Tuesday, and then I'll work Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. But because society says we need to plod along, we need to do steps, and we need to have little goals every single day, and we need to have a to-do list, they think that they're an imposter, but actually they're working smarter, not harder. They're they're using their hyper focus in a way that gets them to where they want to be faster than some people who have not got ADHD. But they do believe that they're a fraud, and that every single time they're going to find out, someone's going to find out that I'm not as good as they think I am.
And that's terrible, isn't it? Because, like you say, that's such an advantage, being able to work so efficiently, so quickly, that high energy, like you're talking about. That's great. But again, how sad you feel you can't celebrate that, and people to recognize that and say, wow, or how people might exploit that as well and say, oh, well, if you work twice as far, I can give you twice as much work for the same amount of money, and this is what you're doing. It's sort of, again, it's that hiding, isn't it? And not celebrating that person's ability to do that. Yeah, that's absolutely amazing. Yeah. And so is that why you think people sometimes with ADHD might see themselves as behind others? They don't feel so successful. Is that part of the problem, do you think?
So I think what we know is part of the executive function is about time management. Now, time management is, we can't manage time. Manage time is 24 hours a day. But what we mean is that we can self-manage what we do within that time frame. When you have ADHD, their time management is now or not now. So you either want to do it straight away, and so you get if you're a student, you get the assignment, you go, I want to get it all done. So you get this adrenaline, you get pumped up, and then the dopamine hit passes, and you go, oh, it doesn't need to be in for another 4 or 5 weeks. So therefore, I don't need to worry about it. Whereas somebody that's neurotypical might say, right, I'm going to do 500 words every day through there. They will then get this sense of urgency and that usually comes 2 or 3 days before that deadline. And then they will then complete the rest of that assignment in that time. And then they'll feel bad about it because they feel that they didn't manage it well. But they're never going to be that way. So stop trying to be that person who's going to do something every single day. Embrace the fact that you do your best work when you're under that pressure, because a lot of people can't do the work under that pressure. And I think that they think they're behind, But that's a good thing, because that then is the adrenaline kicking in, that dopamine hit to say, I really need to do it now.
Mm.
But the brain is a bit like a toddler when they're going, what day is it? What day is it? Is it Friday yet? Is it Christmas yet? Is it Christmas? And it's like November. Oh, when's Christmas? When's Christmas? And that's what the ADHD brain is doing. It can't visualize what the week looks like. So don't try doing it. Do it in days. Think about what you want to do for the week. If you can work that way, then manage your time on a daily basis based on your energy levels, rather than thinking I've got time blocking every single day on a Sunday for the rest of the week, because that way you don't feel like you're behind as much, because you could do the work a lot better than other people.
And again, that's about, you helping people to understand their brains better, rather than, again, this negative failure. I don't think I am. I think I've got a bit, uh, sort of talking to you sometimes, but people don't just. We're not machines, are we? We can't just suddenly do the 9 to 5 plod plod plod. You're talking about really understanding yourself and accepting yourself, and again, seeing that as a strength, that's a good thing, and you need the adrenaline and everything like that. It's so positive. If people just understood themselves a little better, how their brain works, they could do so much better and not have that negative, feeling of failure all the time, that feeling of being behind all the time, to celebrate the way they do things. Yeah, that's really good. Yeah, I love the tips.
Yeah, and I think also it's a really good thing that you say about we all have this little bit of ADHD, and I think it's a society problem. It's not necessarily that people have differences in their brain, but we've got technology. We've got AI to do all the planning for us. We've got technology where we constantly can't sit there and do nothing. We want to be on our phones. We want to be doing stuff. And I think we know how important it is to develop those executive function skills before the age of 25, when the brain has developed. Yet we're aware that this generation that we have now are not developing those executive skills. They're not developing their planning, because they're just going on to ChatGPT to do the planning for them. They're not problem solving, because they just go and ask Google. And their working memory is, they don't have to remember the things that we did. So that's why, even though that generation didn't know about ADHD, we've had so many things that we can help. But this other, I anticipate that there will be a lot of people who don't have ADHD who will struggle because they haven't learnt those executive skills and developed that CEO in their brain.
And that's so important, isn't it? And like you say, if you're working with people who don't understand, because I don't think people get diagnosed until a little bit later in life. It's sort of, I'm seeing people say who about 10, 11 might get a diagnosis. It might be earlier, I don't know. So, and then of course the parents have to understand what's going on as well, don't they? So in order to help that person to develop those skills. But if that isn't missed, and like you say, you can get to age 25 quite easily, and that executive function opportunity has been missed because the brain's fully developed. So it sounds really important that diagnosis is done as early as possible.
But then is it about diagnosis, or is it about our education system adapting and saying, actually, we know this generation are going to struggle with these executive skills. So instead of forcing them to do the traditional curriculum, let's put some skills in to help them with this. It doesn't matter if they have ADHD or not. My daughter's been on the waiting list for over 2 years now, and we've still not had an assessment. So you can't rely on the diagnosis, but you can rely on learning about what the executive skills are and how you can develop them. And if we got an education system that did that, then we would see so many of these young people just excelling in their area of what expertise.
Mm. It's a really good point, isn't it? It's actually making the whole school environment more sort of accepting of neurodiversity, isn't it, really? And putting those things in place. Because I think, as you said, there may also be people who are on a scale as well. So even if like you said, a lot of people nowadays do have a little bit of poor attention span. So actually making sure that's sort of incorporated into the curriculum. And you're right about the diagnosis. You're right that again, I work with people who are still on the waiting list for years, and it's very hard, isn't it, to actually get that diagnosis. And then what do you do with it? I like your thinking around let's get the system a little bit more, you know, user friendly in that system so that everybody gets better at developing those functional
Yeah.
skills.
And
Yeah.
I think we're talking about ADHD here, but we got to remember that there's dyslexia, there's the
Yeah,
other
yeah.
neurodiversity, and there's also autism.
Yep.
And we're looking at actually there's less and less neurotypical people within the system, that therefore we need to look at these children and see what works for them, because everyone benefits from it.
Absolutely. Yeah, I totally get where you're coming from as well. And again, it's that inclusivity again, isn't it? Rather than saying, "Oh, you're different, and therefore you're going to have this." It's actually let's make the curriculum suitable for all people,
Mm.
regardless
Yeah.
of yeah. Okay. And I think you've already spoken about this one. Just one more question about sort of benefits or advantages that people have with ADHD if they're trying to develop a business or they're trying to get really good with sports. What are the particular things that are like a really help people to succeed?
So what we know is people with ADHD have amazing problem solving skills. They're able to look at a problem in a different way and see it and create solutions based on how their brain works, which sometimes when people are neurotypical, they're very much stay within the box, whereas they can think outside the box. And if they're allowed, they can go and explore that. And that's why we have so many great entrepreneurs, because you're your own boss. So therefore you can go and explore what your strengths are and employ people to do your weaknesses. And I don't like the word weaknesses, because actually what we know, it's not about weakness, it's just that we haven't developed those skills in the same way as our strengths, and we can't do that. Our weaknesses need to be good enough,
Mm,
and our strengths can take us to the next level. And but so many people feel that you need to get your weaknesses up there together. You don't.
mm,
That's why you delegate.
mm,
That's why when you're an athlete, you pick the sport that you can be hyper focused on. That hyper focus that you have with ADHD gets these people to the top. So if you think about how they've become obsessed with their training, with them getting better and better and better, they want to be at the top. Their vision is incredible. And they have coaches who help them get there. So they don't need to have the planning. They don't need to have that, what we call tax activation, because they have someone there, um, body doubling them, as opposed coaching them, being their accountability person to say, this is what you need to do to get there. What people with ADHD is good at is they will get there if they've got somebody there to keep them on the right track, on in the right lane. And that's like a coaches, sports psychologists, with the businesses. That's what I do. I help the businesses and the entrepreneurs to recognize this is what it's all about: self-awareness. Everything's
mm.
about being aware of what you're good at and what you need to get someone else to do. And that's why you get so many entrepreneurs who have great businesses, multiple successful businesses, because they have the vision, they get someone else to execute it.
And I think it's really good. Jo, so this is what you do. You actually help somebody to really, aspire to their dreams and their strengths, don't they? And rather just being left with their brain, because our brain's not always our friends, you really kind of, partner them and really inspire them and really get them there, don't you? And it's very hard to do on your own because you do need, like you say, that complementary kind of person to make them to rise to their ability. That's a really good way of explaining it, what you do and how you help people. Yeah, that's amazing.
And I
Yeah.
think also, um, when I started looking at sports psychology, I know my brain can't cope on just one thing.
Mhm.
And so when I knew that going down the sports psychology route doesn't mean you have to just work with athletes,
Mhm.
actually, you're trained to work with athletes and business and students. And that to me was right from the very beginning. The first time I started my business, I want to help people in sport, business, and education, because my ADHD brain can't focus on that one thing. And so many people say, you need to niche, you need to niche, you need to niche. No, you don't. You just need to have a vision that we both know that we have the same mentor, Rob Moore, and Rob Moore says you should have the 60-30-10 model. So you can concentrate on three things as long as you have someone to help you organize it so that you stay on track and you don't have 20. You you don't have to have one, you can have three, don't have 20.
Yeah, there's a balance there, isn't there?
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, yeah. That's really good. But I think as what your theme is, isn't it? Really, it's the psychology behind high achievers, isn't it? It sometimes it's the same mindset. It doesn't. They could be in, like you say, you're just getting them to hyper. It could be the hyper focus, could be a sport, but could very easily be a business because obviously you're a successful business owner as well, or education. That the brain's the same. It's just kind of tweaking those particular areas so you get that high performance in all those areas. That's your key message, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's getting that amazing high performance that people aspire to, and you help them get there. Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
great. Yeah, that's good. And do you have any sort of we've talked a lot about self-doubt, so I'm wondering how do you build confidence in people with ADHD? I mean, do you have a particular skill or tool that you use to help that?
I I had this thought that confidence is something that's a byproduct of lots of different things. We want natural confidence. We don't want to fake it till we make it. We need to. There's lots of components. It's a matter of courage. It's about communication. There are a lot of C's involved. Concentration and that clarity of where we want to be. When we start being successful, we have these quick wins, and it's really important with people with ADHD that they have the quick wins because they can't see the time horizon. They can't think to themselves. They can have a vision, but they need to know now, because if it's in 3 or 4 months' time, that's no good for them. So we need to have quick sort of rewards and successes so that it keeps the momentum going.
Mm.
And when we get momentum, we then get the confidence. But we know confidence can go up and down. So we don't focus on gaining more confidence, because confidence will come when you start looking at how you can deal with the inconsistency. So that's about putting in strategies and plans so that you recognize where you're going to dip, what you could do to either bring the dopamine up or batch, if you're an entrepreneur, batch everything when you're in this superpower, so that then you have somebody to go and schedule that for you. One of the things I love is you can have a Google Docs. When you have these brilliant ideas, don't go posting it all the time, because that's what ADHD people do. They go, I've got 5, 10 different ideas today. I'll go and post them all in one day. And then they go,
There's
oh,
nothing off this.
so get a Google Doc, go to a Google Doc, write down all your ideas, write it all down, and then pretend that you've posted it, gonna make you feel good.
Yeah.
And then you can either schedule it if you want to, or you can keep it for when you haven't got that energy and you go, I need to post. I haven't posted for a few days. I haven't got the energy to go, and the dopamine hit's not there to go and talk about something. Oh, I'll just go into my Google Doc and
Yeah.
get my VA to post
Yeah.
it for me.
Yeah,
But,
exactly. Again, you've got somebody to help you to do that, which makes
yeah.
a lot of sense. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
But it's
Okay.
okay if you don't have that
Yeah.
consistency. It's not a problem. For me, I work with people with ADHD. They understand that. They go, okay, you can do some. We'll do some great work, and they recognise that. The interrupting is one of the other things that we do because our brain's so busy. We want to sort of tell people all the time. That's why you need voice notes. So you use voice notes so that you can get it out your head, because you'll forget it.
Mm.
If you don't say it there and then, I've
Yeah.
got a great idea, voice note it in your phone. We all have our phones with us 24/7, don't we?
Mm.
We get into the habit of doing that, and then you can even not go back to it. That's okay. If you screenshot or you voice note, you don't have to go back to it, but if you want to, it's there.
And those are really great tips and tools there about how to manage it as well, and that comes through lived experience with you, isn't it? It comes through you knowing and really understanding your clients and what they do. But I'm sure you use these things all the time and just developing that self-aware. It's so positive, isn't it? It's the way you can just kind of tweak things, get some quick wins. So, the dopamine goes up, doesn't it? And people feel that great
Yeah.
sort of satisfaction, and then that motivates them, drives them forward to try more things or to succeed as well, because you got them on that kind of that trajectory, haven't it, of sort of going up rather than feeling you know like that really, or failing and all that type of thing. Just helping people to build that sort of that success in mini wins sounds like a really good idea. I think it applies to everybody, not just
Yeah.
I'm
But
taking notes as I go along.
yeah, but I think also you get a lot of people, a lot of really well-intentioned coaches who go, just get an app. But the thing is with these apps is you've got to have the motivation to go and input the stuff. Apps are an awareness tool. They help if people have struggled with awareness, then that will help with awareness. Apps don't deal with motivation.
Mm.
So when people say, oh, I've tried this app, someone's told me to use this app, but I can't, I'll put in everything and then I don't use it. That's because you don't have an awareness problem.
Mm.
I don't have an awareness problem. My self-awareness is incredible. It's a motivation, it's a planning, it's a management of my time. That's my things that I need support with. I don't need it with awareness. So,
Mm.
and that for me would be I'd spend all my time putting the stuff in there. I know what I need to do. I just don't do it sometimes. Apps don't help you with that.
Mm. Okay, and that's really important to understand what the people are different stages as well, isn't it? And that's what a coach does, is help people to understand what stage they're at. It's a bit of an individual thing, isn't it? And then what stage they can go to as well, rather than just like an app, because apps don't talk back, do they? They're just sort of like they're a machine basically, and it doesn't suit everybody, or it doesn't sort of pick up the things that perhaps you would pick up as a sort of your analysis and understanding people. Yeah, yeah, we haven't quite been replaced yet with ChatGPT, have we?
We'll never get replaced because we are more attuned to actually feeling what other people are feeling. And it's that sense, you know what it is as a therapist. You sense what they're not telling you
Mm,
rather than what they're telling you.
mm.
And ChatGPT can't do that.
No,
Or any other
no,
AI that's available.
no, no, not yet.
Not yet.
No, I'm just joking. I'm just joking. No, I
Yeah.
don't think we're replaceable. Okay, and you've really given loads and loads of examples of how you help people. Is there anything particular, like a sort of typical sort of how people come and what you would do with people? Can you just sort of give us a brief idea
Uh,
of perhaps one individual?
I'm going to do
Classic.
three very quick ones, just because I want to do it in three in all three
Okay,
areas. So
great.
within sport, it will be someone that's like who's maybe a football player who has struggles with their emotions, and they don't understand how things like getting a foul when it's not a foul, or them making a mistake,
Hmm.
and they get what we call dysregulated.
Mm.
And I think we see dysregulation in a child. We always think, okay, when a child has a tantrum, we know they're dysregulated. But actually, as adults, we all get dysregulated. And people with ADHD struggle with that regulation, and they need time to go away. And I teach people how to do that. And when I've taught with like footballers to understand what's going on, I have the 4 R's, which is to regulate, reconnect, re-engage, and then reflect a few hours afterwards. And by doing that, that helps athletes get back into the game very quickly. When it comes to business, it's about, I think we've talked about this a lot. It's about recognizing what you're good at and being that visionary. Entrepreneurs with ADHD have the vision that other entrepreneurs don't see. You look at Richard Branson. Richard Branson had this vision. He's got ADHD. He's got dyslexia. It's not stopped him. He's gone out there and he's a multi-business owner. He's sold many of his businesses because he probably I don't know if that's true, but he probably got bored with them, and he sold them on to somebody else. That isn't That's good business management. That's something that he can embrace, and that is just because he's Richard Branson doesn't mean that we can't model that. It's recognizing that actually we can make good money doing what we're good at.
Hmm.
Why spend 8 hours trying to do a task that you really don't want to do when you can pay somebody that can do that a lot quicker than you, and you can go and earn what you're good at.
Mm.
So I love talking to people. I love creating videos and courses. I would never ever get rid of that. But the stuff behind it is get a VA.
Mm.
Yeah, ChatGPT can help you with the stuff too, but it can't actually do the work for you.
Mm.
So that's
Not
and
yet.
not yet, not yet. We will wait for that time. There will always be the need for VAs.
Yeah.
I think, and then there's the education. I have lots of students that go to university, and I'm not going to get into that thing about if you're not going to go into a profession and you've got ADHD, please consider how you can go and do what you want to do without going to university, because university is not geared for people who are neurodiverse. But what I have done with people that have gone there is I have helped them be able to get the most so that they can get their their them through their degree, really.
Mm.
Because yes, you've got the people that are going to get first class degrees. They're great. Those people that have got ADHD that really thriving up there. But you've got to remember that they're in the minority.
Mm.
But people with ADHD, they've got so much to offer, and sometimes university is not for them. And I want to be quite honest in I've worked with people who've gone to university, and it's great to see them get to the other side, but then they go and get a job in something that they could have got 3 years ago that works with their strengths.
Mm. I mean, it's great that you offer support to those people, because I can imagine somebody with ADHD trying to get through all the coursework and everything like that, and all the deadlines and that. It is, again, for somebody who's not neurodiverse, I think that's really, really hard thing to do, isn't it? To actually do all the work and have that self-discipline. But it's great that you provide that support for people and help them to sort of get through passing a degree. Because yeah, absolutely, I can understand how much challenging that might be with a person with ADHD. Whereas if you're an entrepreneur, if you get there, you're like you say, you can then work on your ideas, can't you? But it's another education system which is like that, isn't it? This is what you have to do, and these are the essays you have to do, and this is what you're going to need to pass. Whereas you're an entrepreneur or an athlete, okay, I can go here, there, and there. It's a different. You're freer, really, aren't you? You're freer. That's what you're saying. Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
And another common thing that people say about ADHD is that they're not good finishers as well. I suppose that's what we're talking about when it comes to an essay. Is that true? Is that probably, I know we talked about, time management and things like that, but is that a common problem that people with ADHD have, is
I
difficulty
think what
finishing?
they have is that because they have so many more ideas than somebody who's neurotypical, it comes across as if they don't finish anything. But actually, we know that the brain either deletes, it generalizes, or it distorts. And I think, and that's in all brains. But I think with people with ADHD, they're so focused on the topics and the projects that they don't finish that they forget that actually they are finishers. They do finish a lot of projects. They do finish a lot of stuff that they start, and but they forget, the brain deletes that. It then generalizes and says, actually, you don't finish. And they then say, I'm not a finisher, which is a character trait. Which I am. No, you don't. You just sometimes you just move on to something else because they don't need. Now, we've talked about this a little bit in the fact that they're visionaries. Go and get somebody who's a doer to be able to look at what you want. You do the bit that you want to do. When the dopamine kicks out and you go, I need someone else to finish this off, get someone to finish it off for you if it's the right thing. But because we have so many ideas, it doesn't mean that every idea is a goer. So of course you're going to go, actually, no, I'll go move on to something else. It's not shiny object syndrome. It's looking and exploring all the ideas you have in order to see which ones are going to be the best. And stop saying you're not a finisher. If you want to finish it, get someone else to do it for you.
Great. And again, that's a real sort of mindset shift that you help people with, which is really, really useful, isn't it? Rather than, again, a negative judgment of yourself, a character assassination. No, I'm not a finisher. And that might, if you have that belief, it might actually stop you from starting things, which would probably really, really good idea. Oh, I'll never finish it. It's again, it's a sort of negative character trait you're trying to challenge as well. And actually, people don't even know what they're thinking sometimes. That's what I find, so by having conversations with you, they suddenly get the self-awareness to say that I am having that inner self-talk, and that's why I'm not succeeding, because I'm telling myself that I'm not finished.
But you need somebody there to sit down with and look at all your ideas and go, okay, I have what's called a car park, and it's a car park notebook, and when these ideas come into my head, I write them down. I then review them every month. And I go, and you'll be amazed how many I sort of cross out, because I have these ideas and I go, I'd love to do that. Honestly, people who have neurotypical brains don't realize how many things are going into your head.
Yeah.
Every time I see something, there's an entrepreneurial idea. I go, that could do a business on that. Yes, I could. But is it aligned with my goal of what I want to do, which is to change and take people to the next level in sport, business and education? Yes, it's great. One of the things might be to help parents to learn how to regulate children. I'd love to do that. I can do it. I would be able to be a great person to do that, but it's not part of my vision, and I'll put it's on my list. But it sometimes go to that list and I'll cross it out and go, actually, no, on hindsight, that's not the thing, and that will stop people from starting things and then realizing actually it was just a dopamine hit. And I call it a car park. I don't know why. I think it just came from when I used to work in the prison service doing like rehabilitation programs, and we used to have a flip chart that we called the car park. If anyone had any questions, you put it on, and I've just devised it from that, really. And it just stops you from flitting all the time.
It's a great metaphor. I mean, I think it works really well, and you can have a lot of fun with it as well. You can have all different types of cars, where
Yeah.
you're going to park them. Some need blocking in as well,
Yeah,
don't
yeah.
they?
I think with
Some need
ADHD
chains on them.
people, they'll have lots of buses
Yeah,
parking
yeah.
people in.
Yeah, I can see that. I love it. I love that. That will stick with me. I remember that, the car park. Yeah. It's a great metaphor to use. It's really good. Okay. And I've just got a couple of questions that maybe people have in their heads, but are a little bit sort of afraid to ask, or maybe they might sound a little bit judgmental, but I think there are in people's heads. Is it okay if you just answer a
Yeah.
couple of, maybe a little bit more controversial things? So, one comment that's come through is to say that people often think that people with ADHD are lazy and undisciplined. How would you answer that, Jo?
So there's a reason why we believe that they're lazy. They're not lazy. What happens is we know that people with ADHD can get very overwhelmed with lots of different instructions. So when they see a task that looks like, for example, one of the things that I find with my daughter is clean your room. That's one of the things they say to people is going, I think any teenager struggles to then go and clean the room. The thing is that an ADHD brain can't visualize what that means. So therefore, their brain goes, oh my goodness, I've got to clean my room. What does that mean? Does that mean I've got to pick up the rubbish? I've got to make my bed? And then all of a sudden it goes into panic mode and it just freezes. And then so it does nothing. We call it paralysis by analysis, that we analyze it so often that we just paralyze. And our brain just goes into this panic of freeze and goes, don't know what it is. It's not that they're lazy. It's either that they were overwhelmed or it's a dopamine thing. So people who are neurotypical can get that dopamine, that discipline to go and wash the pots. And I think actually that's not true. I think even most people, if they're sat there on their phone playing Candy Crush and they've got to go and wash the pots, the chances are they don't want to go and wash their pots. But with someone with ADHD, they haven't got that adrenaline. So they'll do it at 4:00 in the morning because they'll wake up in the morning and they'll go, need to go and wash the pots. So they'll go and wash the pots. And because if they're with somebody who isn't feeling that way, they think they're lazy. Well, no, what they're doing is they just don't have that energy at that point to go and do it. So body doubling is like crucial to help people. And body doubling is literally, I went with my daughter and we got a big bin bag, and I sat on the bed with the bin bag and she put all the rubbish inside it. I sit there and help her, but I don't actually do anything because it's her room. She has to clean it. But if I just said to her, go upstairs, clean the room, she'll just go and sit on her bed, look at it and go on the phone. It's not that she's not lazy, because actually she's a really hard worker. It's just that she can't do it. So be sort of aware that they need that accountability just by somebody being there. So I do it with my friend. I'll go, I just need to go and clean the conservatory and clear some toys out. Can you come and sit with me? Because I know that I'll get it more done if somebody sat there with me. I don't want them to help. I just want them to be there. And so I think when it comes to that, is that with laziness, that's the reason why it comes across as being lazy, but it's not. With disorganization, the brain struggles because it's got so many. You can imagine if you've got all these voices on it and you put your keys down, the brain's deleted where that is. So therefore, it's about creating those structures and routines to put the keys in the same place every time. But if something goes wrong in that structure, they'll put the key somewhere else and lose it. That's not being disorganized. It's just that their working memory is probably different to other people's.
Okay, that's very well explained. Thank you for that. And I love the idea of, rather it being a battle with a child cleaning their room. I'm sure most, parents hear that, and it's a common issue getting, children or adolescents to sort of do those tasks. I love the way you describe that. You sort of go with them and then you aid them, but you also empower them as well. You don't do it for them, because that obviously doesn't teach them anything, does it?
Yeah.
But I love the way you describe, just you're there with them.
Yeah, and you have to be specific in the fact you go and put your clothes into the wash basket or back in your drawer. You can't just say clean their room, because their brain just goes. Even any teenager's brain just goes. Whereas if you say, "Can you go up and put your clothes away?" That's even vague too. You've got to go in the drawer or in the wash basket if they're dirty. Then you'll see that they will more likely to do it. And if you're sat there with them doing that, you can help them, because they will go, I haven't got any clothes, but they'll look at a piece of clothing and go, is this clean? Is this dirty? I don't know. And you could then help them make that decision in which one it's going. And I think that way you're more likely to get a child to clean the room.
Yeah. Well, that's gold dust, isn't it? That one clip needs to be kind of promoted on YouTube, everywhere like that. That's how you get children to clean their room. Brilliant idea. Yeah. That's up there.
They don't have to have the ADHD.
Yeah. Yeah. That's everyone. Yeah, okay, that's really, really good. Okay. The next controversial question is, a common myth is that they think that people with ADHD self-sabotage on purpose. Almost they're too frightened to be successful. And that. What do you think about that?
So, I have a thing about self-sabotage, and I listen to a podcast with someone who agrees with what I say. Self-sabotage doesn't exist. It is impossible to happen. The brain is not there to self-sabotage. The brain is there to protect, and therefore it is impossible to self-sabotage. You'll know this is what we know is it's about trauma, past trauma that's come into the present, and then the brain starts to protect, and therefore it looks like it's self-sabotage, but it's not. And how we have to do this is about recognizing what the trauma is, bringing it into the present. I call it the consciousness. I don't know what you call it. Then we'll deal with it in the consciousness, and then we know that then we recognize why you're doing certain things and why your brain is protecting it, and then it will disappear, and you'll then go and realize that actually you can never sabotage. Your brain can never sabotage you. Stop using the word self-sabotage, because all it's doing is it's protecting you so you can be the best you can.
Yeah. And again, it's another reframe, isn't it? It's such a different language, isn't it? The meaning is completely different to self-sabotage, which is again negative, dismissal, diminish, to protect. That that part of your brain's on your side, isn't it? It's there. It's still rooting for you in a slightly different way, but it's still rooting for you as well. So, that's great. And knowing that people can come to you if they've got some sort of trauma, and you can help them with that. I mean, like you say, all those kind of experiences they had as a child, perhaps where they weren't listened to or dismissed or misunderstood. That I'm sure there's loads of examples of that. I work with a lot of people who've been bullied in their school time, and it stays with them, like you say. That's really good. And
I think, like you say, is for me, I can look at what I can bring out with that trauma, because I was bullied at school. I recognize now that it was definitely to do with the cycle of ADHD, but also I have got to experience now where I know when what I can do, if I can move it forward, or whether I feel that they need to come and see someone like yourself who needs to get deeper and work with that trauma. But a lot of self-sabotage, people who use self-sabotage, what they're really meaning is, this happened in the past, I've not dealt with it, so therefore this is what I'm going to do. And they call it self-sabotage because they want to label it, whereas actually it's not self-sabotage. It's just that you need to deal with it and see why your brain's protecting you from that.
Okay, yeah, makes a lot of sense. Okay, so the next controversial question is, it says that people with ADHD may have very sort of strong emotional regulations issues. They're quite, they have issues with shame, they have issues with rage. What do you think?
So when we look at the biggest, I think, issue, I don't like the word issue, but we know that struggles is with ADHD is people who have emotional dysregulation. And what happens with that is that people start labeling them as being oversensitive, or you always getting upset. And what happens is people then shame them, humiliate them, embarrass them. They feel embarrassed themselves. I've cried in Specsavers, and you go, because you can't control it. It's really understanding that it doesn't mean that they're depressed. People struggle with, I cry. Some people get very angry. It's that fight and flight sort of thing. But it's about recognizing that we can manage it. We can never get rid of it. And we can be so calm in that emergency, but cry because Asta's delivered the wrong type of milk. You know what I mean? Honestly, it seems like it's, but what happens is you then start feeling shame because people don't understand. I work with a lot of athletes who that have developed shame because of the coaches, because the coaches have said to them, why are you always crying all the time? Or it's, you're hit, because they'll hit somebody in a football match and they go in, that behavior is acceptable, take them off, because a lot of coaches will go, well, they're not playing. If they're going like that, I'm going to take them off. So they get punished for something that actually they can't deal with. And this happens at a very young age. And I think then what happens is we carry a lot of shame, a lot of anger. But the anger is to do with the emotional dysregulation. The shame is to do with the fact that how other people have responded to that emotional dysregulation. I think so. That's how, and we don't talk about it because people mask. So instead of saying, actually, this is how I feel, this is how it works for me, they just mask it, and they carry that shame, and they'll hold back that rage, or they'll get into trouble for that rage, and then that cycle continues. But they don't want to talk about it. People don't want to talk about shame anyway, do they? I think shame is emotion, but I don't necessarily think shame comes from ADHD. I think it's a response of the emotional dysregulation that creates the shame in people.
Absolutely, I agree with that. I agree with that. And people don't like, even now when we're trying to be a bit more open about mental health and a bit more sort of, understanding, being a bit more neurotypical. If somebody cries, like you say, about as delivering the wrong milk, I mean, there's all kinds of things will set us off, can't they? But if we feel shame for actually just expressing our emotions, that's so sad, isn't it? Because again, we are fully human, and those emotions serve a purpose as well, don't they? So, what a shame that if somebody cries, they get told off for it. It's just,
and it's learning.
Man up.
It doesn't bother me anymore.
No.
I've learned to manage my emotions in important situations, but actually, what comes with that emotion is also I have great perspective taking. I have great empathy skills. My emotional intelligence is through the roof. And though it's about focusing on those rather than all the other sort of negatives. Okay, so I've cried in Specsavers because they told me off because the contact lens, I should have had my contact lenses, which I told them that I didn't like and I couldn't get them in. And you go, I'm never going to see those people again because I'm never going to have contact lenses, because no one understood why it was so hard because of the sensory issues to put contact lenses in my eyes, because we know that there's lots of sensory issues with that. I'm just going to tell your viewers, I've obviously got a little puppy trying to bite me. So if they think I'm
Really
moving
gorgeous.
around,
Yeah.
this is
Yeah,
Nelly.
hello Nelly, bit of pet
Yeah,
therapy.
yeah. So
Yeah, you bring, yeah, she'll be the star of the show. You do realise. You
I'm
do
going to
anything
put
else.
her into the crate, and I don't want you to cut this because I want you to realise that.
Yeah, no, it's telling your story, Joe, and that's great. Yeah,
Yeah. So
yeah,
it's
lovely.
about, but you can see how actually there, I've got ADHD. I could have been focusing and worrying about her, but I just sort of was able to focus while I was getting bitten by, like, nibbled by a puppy. But it's about
Yeah,
recognizing we can focus. We
yeah.
can have that attention
Mm,
if we choose, and we have strategies to work on it.
mm,
And the strategy I do is stop, breathe, and think, so we
mm,
can stop that brain, that chimp in our head,
mm,
hijacking us, so we can
mm,
actually think about our rational brain and allow that executive functioning part of
mm.
our brain to actually think.
And these tools are amazing, aren't they? I mean, these are life-changing tools, isn't it? If you can
Yeah,
actually, like you say, get better emotional regulation and focus and those sort of things, the level of success, take down the shame, all that kind of stuff,
yeah,
it is a priceless. What you do is priceless, because you can really change a person's life, can't you? And people don't really realize, maybe they're sitting at home and thinking, I've just had they think they've got ADHD, they got a diagnosis of ADHD, and they think, oh well, there we are, I'm defective now. Go and see Joe. Joe will, really help you
yeah,
to actually turn that all round, and actually be your own best self and be successful. I mean, it's all there, isn't it? It's all there. That's all they need to do,
yeah.
is to pick up a.
And they don't have to be diagnosed with ADHD.
No.
I'm one of these people that say, yes, okay, I'm an ADHD specialist, but actually I'm a high performance psychologist.
Mm.
So yes, what I do is I work with all high achievers,
Yeah.
but my skills and my strategies are all ADHD friendly.
Mm.
So it this, instead of doing a neurotypical course or a program that ADHD people struggle with, my strategies are ADHD friendly because they benefit the other people
Yeah.
who still have these struggles but are not diagnosed with ADHD.
Mm. Absolutely. And you can, like you say, you can be striving to be a high achiever and still struggling with focus and shame, is what you're saying. And you can still help those people as well. Like you say, you don't just help people who think they have the ADHD or diagnosed. You help people who are struggling to go to the next level, don't
Yeah,
they? They just want to go to the next level, and there's often stuff going on in their heads which they don't understand.
yeah,
Is kind of, like you say, they're self-sabotaging themselves.
yeah. And it's one of those things that we will never ever be able to differentiate, is what is trauma and what is ADHD. They are so overlapped
Mm,
that there's signs of things that happen related to trauma and signs that are related to ADHD. And we see this in lots of children that have come from the care system, that we'll never know what's part of the trauma and what's part of the ADHD. But if we have a strategy that supports them both, then it doesn't matter.
mm.
We don't need to have that. Yes, this part of it's to do with trauma, this part's to do with ADHD. We become holistic. We work with everybody in a way that it will get the best out of them with their way that their brain has been formatted, I suppose. And that's how we get success out of people. we don't necessarily need to differentiate which one is which.
It's the outcome, isn't it? It's the outcome, and there's a process that you teach, but it's more about outcome focused rather than problem focused, I think is what you're saying. Yeah, that's great.
Yeah, and because ADHD is so different in lots of people, then it is beneficial to have that one-to-one. So because you need that support. You can't just go and have another course. You can't just go and work on a self-led talk on how to say market yourself, because you'll get halfway through and then you'll go, I'll leave it, and then you'll forget, or you might have a subscription and you'll have what we call ADHD tax, because you've been paying out that subscription for like 6-7 months and you've even forgotten it exists, because that's what that time horizon is, but you're still paying. We call it ADHD tax.
Okay.
So I help you reduce your ADHD tax so that you don't have these subscriptions, money going out for things that you've forgotten about.
Yeah. That's, I said, that sounds good for ordinary people as well. Not ordinary people, I didn't mean that. You know what I meant? People who aren't neurotypical, non-neurotypical people.
Absolutely. Because we all have it. You'll go, I mean, I've done it with Canva, the free trial, and you put it in your calendar, and then some reason you get this pop-up that goes, you've paid for this. And you go, oh, I forgot.
I know, but they do that on purpose. So
yeah.
It's so easy to do. Yeah. I can relate to that. Yeah. So, Jo, I mean, you offer such an amazing service and it sounds really, really good. So people want to get in touch with you. How do they do that? How can they find out more about all your services you provide, your one-to-one coaching, all the resources, because you have loads of resources. We haven't even talked about that behind, your one-to-ones as well. So how do they get in touch with you?
So I'm offering everyone who has listeners on this podcast a free ADHD growth audit, where if they go to the show notes and they send me an email, they put in the title ADHD growth audit, and I will send them a link to book in a free sort of audit, so we can have a look at where your strengths are and how we can utilize those strengths and come away with a strategy. And if it's the right fit, then I will explore how we can work together.
Okay, that's great. And that's if it's on the podcast or on YouTube as well, because this goes out on YouTube.
Yeah, yeah. So
okay.
The show notes. Yeah.
And that's an amazing gift, isn't that? That's a high valuable gift to offer that free, 20 minutes of your time to actually help people. And what an amazing thing that people can go and do is just get that little taster of working with you, and that is a very valuable piece of information that people can take away and use already, can't they? Like you said, that it's like a quick win, isn't it?
And my mission is to get to as many people as possible, to help them recognize that you don't have to have ADHD as your barrier. It's actually about channeling that energy to making you successful, and actually owning it and going, actually, it's me. Because I remember thinking to myself that I blagged my way through my degree to get to being a psychologist. And actually, now that I recognize what happened, is I didn't blag my way through it. I actually worked really hard. I did really well, and I got some really good marks in it. And I think actually, if I'd have known what I know now, it could have been higher. However, it doesn't matter, because that wouldn't have made me a better psychologist. Actually, what I'm good at is the applied stuff, not the academic stuff. And that's why I like to channel and help people go, this is what you're good at. Go and do that. Don't be in a job that's making you feel bad all the time, making you feel insignificant or inefficient. Be in a job that helps you, that people understand that you can be you and build a business or your career on your own terms.
That sounds priceless to me. Sounds absolutely priceless. So thank you so much, Jo, for being a guest on my show. You've been an amazing guest, and you've given out so much information, which is really insightful and very, very valuable. I just want to encourage all the listeners to pass it on as well. If even if you have somebody who doesn't have ADHD, or you think you know somebody who might or is struggling with the kind of issues that Jo was talking about, please get in touch and contact Jo through the links on the show notes. And thank you so much. Thank you, Jo, so much for all your contributions. And thank you, everyone, for listening.
Yeah. And thank you, Wendy, for everything and inviting me onto the show.
My pleasure.